Deep in a remote part of the world lies the Downa mine, where miners extract a rare mineral known as chrism, formed from the fossilized remains of ancient dragons. One day, miners Gary and Mogu set dynamite on an unusually large chrism deposit and trigger the explosion. To their shock, a baby dragon emerges from the rubble. The miners attack the creature but are swiftly overpowered. The enraged whelp then rampages through the mine, slaughtering those who strike at it while leaving others unharmed as it searches for an escape. When the dragon finally reaches the surface, a miner lures it into position, allowing a crane to knock it unconscious. Captured, the whelp is caged and loaded onto a train, likely destined for research. However, during the journey, the dragon shakes its cage loose, sending it tumbling down a hillside and into the dense cedar woods. In the thickets of the cedar woods, Ray, a feline humanoid from the Worin clan, stalks a massive boar, poised to strike. But before he can attack, a sudden crash startles the beast, sending it fleeing into the forest. Annoyed, Ray follows the noise and discovers a shattered cage lying empty nearby, along with a young, unclothed boy under attack by 3 wolves. Blaming them for ruining his hunt, Ray swiftly defeats the predators. At first assuming the child was simply abandoned, he turns to leave, but guilt soon gnaws at him. Unable to walk away, he gathers the unconscious boy and carries him back to his secluded home in the heart of the woods. Ray returns to his house, where Tipo, an orphan boy about Ryu's age, greets him. At first, Tipo mistakes the unconscious child for food, but quickly changes his mind and agrees to let him stay. They tuck Ryu into bed, still out cold. As he sleeps, Ryu is visited in his dreams by 2 figures, an adult version of Tipo and the goddess Miria. Unfamiliar with either, Ryu dismisses the visions as mere dreams. When he finally wakes, he finds the house empty and wanders outside in search of the others. His path leads him to McNeil Village, where he spots Ray and Tipo fleeing from a furious homeowner. Noticing Ryu awake for the first time, the pair whisk him away to the local armor's shop. Intending to steal proper clothes for him, something better than the nightgown he's wearing, it's then that Ryu realizes Ray and Tipo aren't just his rescuers, they're thieves and outlaws. Ray proposes that the group head to Jarl Road to rob a passerby. They conceal themselves behind a bush and spot a man, later identified as Bunyan, walking past. Wanting to test Ryu's mettle, Ray encourages Tipo to shove him down a hill, sending him tumbling straight into the stranger. Bunyan quickly deduces Ryu's association with the thieves and warns that if he ever catches them, they'll regret it. Overhearing this, Ray and Tipo reason that Bunyan is out. His house must be unguarded, making it the perfect target. After trekking through the woods to his home, Ray picks the lock, and the trio slips inside. While Tipo hushes Ryu, who comically scrambles to catch a falling plate, Ryu discovers some beef jerky in the cellar. Just as the other 2 rush downstairs, Bunyan returns. Ray volunteers to investigate, but is soon heard shouting from above. Tipo follows, and when Ryu trails after them outside, Bunyan knocks him out cold and ties him up. Bunyan informs the group if they want food, they'll have to earn it through honest labor. He sends Ray to Mount Glass on an undisclosed mission, while Ryu and Tipo are assigned to chop firewood, a task that triggers a minigame before they're allowed to leave. Once finished, the 2 hurry after Ray up the mountain. Eventually, they find him inside a cabin at the summit. Ray explains that Bunyan tasked him with slaying the creature terrorizing the village. He suspects Bunyan chose him because of a latent power tied to his race, one too dangerous to unleash around others. The group retires for the night. only to be jolted awake the next morning by the monster's roar. The monster, revealed to be a gnu, engages them in battle but flees. Tracking its blood trail, the trio corners and kills it, only to discover the gnu was merely trying to feed its cubs, unaware they had already perished. Filled with guilt, they plunge into a nearby waterfall and ride the current down the mountain's base. There Bunyan awaits, praising their victory and noting that the animals will now return come spring. When Ray questions whether Bunyan knew about the cubs, the old man counters, "If you'd known she had cubs, would you have let her live?" With the Mount Gloss monster defeated, the animals gradually return to the woods with the arrival of spring. The people of McNeil Village had also changed their tune about the three troublemakers. Curious to hear how the townsfolk now viewed them, Tipo convinced the other group to visit the village. Though they were initially met with hostility, finding themselves encircled by farmers wielding rakes and sickles, the misunderstanding was quickly cleared up, and the trio found themselves being thanked and treated with newfound respect. As they mingled with the villagers, a mysterious figure in a green robe caught their attention. When approached, the stranger introduced himself as Loki and asked for their assistance with an unspecified task. After agreeing to help, he instructed them to meet him at the farmhouse hut to discuss further. Loki reveals that Mayor McNeil has been exploiting the villagers with exorbitant taxes. He proposes a plan to steal the ill-gotten money and return it to the people, an idea Tipo enthusiastically supports, despite Ray and Ryu's hesitation. After some persuasion, the group agrees to wait until nightfall to act, passing the time in the quiet confines of the farmhouse hut. Upon reaching McNeil Manor, the group separates to search for an entry point. They soon notice an unusual section of the outer wall that appears different from the rest. After Ryu inspects it, the others gather around. As Ray leans against the wall while deep in thought, it suddenly collapses inward, creating an impromptu entrance for the team. The group encounters a guard blocking their path who demands a bribe to let them pass. After paying him off, they discover a wallet, which they use to bribe a second guard further ahead. Moving cautiously, they dodge patrolling guards carrying lanterns who would expel them on sight. To create a diversion, Ryu strikes a tower bell with his sword, luring a guard away from his post. Once inside the newly accessible area, they stumble upon a negligent guard who catches them trespassing. He offers them a deal. If they can defeat his guard dog, he'll allow them to proceed. After they succeed, the guard admits the real reason he wanted to frame the dog's failure for their intrusion, covering up his own negligence. After persuading a guard to abandon his post outside what they believe to be a storage shed, the group breaks in only to discover it's actually a chicken coop. Just as Tipo declares their egg a successful heist, an enormous rooster comes crashing down from the rafters. They manage to defeat the oversized bird, but the commotion sends the rest of the chickens in a panic frenzy, their chaotic escape creating a perfect diversion. With the guards distracted by the flying poultry, Ryu and his companions make their way to the manor's main entrance, only to find it well secured. In a clever ruse, Ray draws the remaining guards away from their positions, creating an opening for Ryu and Tipo. As Ryu and Tipo attempt to ascend the first staircase, a spectral figure materializes before them. The ghost, introducing himself as Tarast, blocks their path, forcing them to battle him before proceeding. After defeating the spirit, they reach a balcony where they encounter McNeil, or so they think. Ryu senses something unnatural about him, and the figure soon reveals his true identity as another ghost named Kasen. Once they defeat the second apparition, they cross the balcony and enter a chamber containing another staircase. No sooner do they set foot inside than they're ambushed by Galtel, emerging victorious. They descend the stairs into the manor's kitchen. Spotted a hallway beyond, they make their way forward, only to be intercepted by yet another ghost, Doxin. After dispatching this latest spectral obstacle, the pair finally reaches an elevator that carries them up to the rooftop. Upon reaching the rooftop, the duo discovers a grappling hook and reunites with Ray. Using the hook, Ray creates a makeshift bridge to the adjacent roof where McNeil's private chambers are located. The trio slips down the chimney and bursts into the mayor's bedroom, catching him completely off guard. As they corner the terrified official and prepare to reclaim the stolen taxes, an ominous presence fills the room. The spectral remains of all the McNeil ancestors they defeated earlier materialize, merging into a grotesque, towering abomination that immediately attacks. After a fierce battle, the heroes emerge victorious. They distribute the ill-gotten money by leaving it at each villager's doorstep under the cover of darkness. Meanwhile, a humiliated McNeil watches silently from the shadows, tears of fury streaming down his face as he vows revenge against those who exposed his corruption. After returning to the Cedar Woods home, Tipo proposes visiting town again to see how their reputation has improved following their latest act of heroism. However, upon arriving at McNeil Village, they discover the terrified villagers have returned the stolen money, fearing McNeil's retribution. But their confusion deepens when they encounter Loki, who appears unusually paranoid before abruptly disappearing after a brief exchange. Waiting for him at the farm shed where they had originally planned their heist, the group is instead met with Bunyan. Speaking cryptically to a cow to maintain plausible deniability, he implies that McNeil has dangerous ties to a criminal syndicate, information Loki hadn't known when recruiting them. Recognizing the severity of their situation, Ray advises lying low until the danger passes. With no other options, the trio retreats back to their forest hideout to lay low. Arriving back at Cedar Woods, the group is horrified to discover their home engulfed in flames. From the smoke emerge two figures who identify themselves as Balio and Sunder, and forces sent by the crime syndicate to exact revenge. The battle is brutally one-sided despite their best efforts by Ryu, Ray, and Tipo, who are swiftly overwhelmed. As consciousness fades, each member of the defeated trio is dragged away in different directions, torn apart in their moment of defeat. When Ryu finally stirs awake, he finds himself in Bunyan's care. The old man has tended to his wounds but admits he found no sign of Ray or Tipo. Despite this, Ryu refuses to believe his friends are dead. Bunyan advises him to travel east toward Windia, warning that the journey will take him over the treacherous slopes of Mount Mirnig. At the mountain's peak, fate delivers him straight into the hands of Balio and Sunder. The moment Sunder spots Ryu, he recoils in terror, convinced he's seeing a ghost. In a blind panic, he drives his sword straight through Ryu's back. The brothers laugh in triumph until a faint heartbeat cuts them short. Then something impossible happens. The blade slides free on its own, and before their eyes, Ryu's body shifts. Scales erupt across his skin, limbs twist into claws, and wings unfurl. The unconscious boy is gone. In his place lies the dragon whelp once more. Bound and imprisoned, Ryu is hauled to Windia Castle, under the horseman's belief that he'll fetch a fine fortune. But when presented before the king and queen, he lies limp in his cage, no longer a dragon, but a battered boy again. The monarchs stare in disbelief, Ballio and Sunder, desperate to prove his worth, slam their fists against the bars, convinced violence will force his transformation. Instead, the King's Guard seize them for their brutality. Within moments, all three, Ryu and his would-be captors, are dragged away, locked in separate cells, their fates now in the Crown's hands. Ryu's imprisonment doesn't last long. Princess Nina, stirred by his desperate cries, ventures to the dungeon and takes pity on him. Just as she prepares to free him, Ballio and Sunder intervene, deceiving her with false promises to leave Ryu unharmed. The moment she unlocks their cell, they strike her unconscious and seize her, intending to ransom her to the king. But as they drag Nina away, something awakens within Ryu. With a surge of primal strength, he shatters the bars of his cell and gives chase. He catches the brothers in the dungeon's depths, rescuing Nina before they can escape. Together, the two flee through the castle's winding catacombs, slipping into the night unseen. After fleeing the castle, Ryu and Nina stumble upon a towering research facility, where they meet Momo, a brilliant but eccentric engineer, studying Chrism's mysterious properties. As she works alongside her tiny robotic companion, Honey, their introduction is cut short by bounty hunters storming the tower. With no time to spare, the group makes a dramatic escape aboard Momo's experimental rocket. But their freedom is short-lived. Overloaded with passengers, the vessel spirals out of control and plummets into a nearby field in spectacular fashion. Momo guides the group to a nearby Chrism research facility where scientists are experimenting with plant mutations. There they are greeted by Pallet, the Institute's chairman and former colleague of Momo's deceased father. He informs them of a dangerous mutant creature wreaking havoc at their biological waste disposal site. After battling and defeating the monstrous plant, it entrusts them with its offspring, whom Nina affectionately names Peko. Their eastward journey is abruptly interrupted when Ballio and Sunder betray them and capture them, delivering the party to Genmel's infamous Colosseum. The horsemen enroll them as gladiators, permitting training outside the city while stationing guards to block escape across Magus Gorge. During their captivity, they encounter Gar, the arena's reigning champion, and a battle-hardened warrior. Intrigued by Ballio and Sunder's warning about Ryu's draconic abilities, Gar takes special interest in the group. After defeating Ryu in the championship match, Gar cleverly claims the boy as his prize, circumventing his arrangement with the horsemen. Just as the party celebrates their unexpected freedom, Ballio and Sunder ambush them at Magus Gorge with a band of mercenaries. When Gar joins the battle, the desperate horsemen fuse into the monstrous stallion. But even this combined might proves no match for the united group. Gar offers to help Ryu find his lost companions, but only if the group accompanies him to an ancient temple deep in the eastern wastes. Their journey leads them across a crumbling bridge and through the heart of the smoldering volcano before they finally reach the sacred site. There, Gar takes Ryu aside to the temple's depths, where he unveils a grim truth. The Dragon Clan was exterminated by his own people, acting on the orders of the goddess Maria, who had sworn peace in exchange for their destruction. As the last surviving dragon, Ryu's very existence defies this bloody pact. Gar, bound by duty, draws his blade, but before the killing strike lands, Ryu's power erupts uncontrollably. His body twists into the legendary Kaiser, a draconic force of devastation. With a roar that shakes the temple, he bursts free into the sky. The narrative leaps forward years later, when rumors of a destructive dragon lead Gar back to the very mines where Ryu was first discovered. Deep within the tunnels, he finds Ryu now fully grown and assures him he comes in peace. With remorse, Gar confesses his ancestral role in the Dragon Clan's slaughter and pleads for Ryu's aid in uncovering Miria's true motives for ordering their extinction. Reuniting with Nina, a now formidable young woman, and Momo, they learn she's continued her research at the Plant Institute alongside Peko, who has formed a bond with Yggdrasil, the ancient guardian of the world's forests. Their quest gains direction where Deus, Miria's sister, reveals the goddess's location. Along the way, they encounter Ray, locked in combat with the crime syndicate's leader. After a fierce battle, he rejoins Ryu's group, though Teepo's fate remains unknown. A lingering shadow over their reunion, the group voyages across the ocean to the abandoned northern continent, where they discover a settlement strewn with remnants of an ancient technological civilization. Pressing onward, they reach Dragnir, the last bastion of the Dragon Clan, and uncover the truth about the cataclysmic battle waged centuries prior between the legendary heroes of old and the vengeful goddess Miria. Now she is returned to finish what she started, the complete annihilation of the dragon bloodline. Their journey leads them through a scorching wasteland until the skeletal ruins of Kair Zan rise from the sands, a once gleaming metropolis of forgotten innovation. Among its crumbling spires, they find a solitary lift that's still operational, and its rusted mechanisms groaning as it ascends toward Miria's looming fortress, where their final confrontation awaits. As the group ascends the massive escalator to the floating Miria station, they battle waves of defenses before reaching the inner sanctum. There, they're confronted by a lavender-haired young man who reveals himself as Teepo, now grown into adulthood. Having survived Balio and Sunder's attack thanks to his dormant dragon abilities, he explains how Miria later found him and offered sanctuary, convincing him his power was too dangerous for the world. When his pleas for Ryu and the others to join him in peaceful isolation fail, a heartbroken Teepo undergoes a horrific transformation into a monstrous dragon lord. The ensuing battle is brutal and tragic, ending with Teepo mortally wounded. As he reverts to human form in his final moments, his whisper reveals the simple truth behind his actions. All he ever wanted was to be reunited with his true family, Ryu and Ray. The resolute party finally confronts Miria in the station's command center, where the goddess unveils her grim rationale. She annihilated the Dragon Clan and purged the world's advanced technology for humanity's own protection, to prevent them from engineering their own extinction. Facing Ryu, she extends the same ultimatum given to Teepo: eternal sanctuary with her station, or death. As the weight of this choice hangs in the air, Pico's form suddenly radiates with energy as Yggdrasil's spirit manifests through him. The ancient guardian's voice resonates with both wisdom and sorrow as he rebukes Miria. As he tells her she is taking her power too far, and like any parent, she must allow her children to make their own way. The weight of destiny now rests in the player's hands. Should Ryu surrender his power, Miria will seal him within the station's crystalline sanctum, an eternal prisoner in a gilded cage. This choice leads to a somber conclusion: a world forever restrained by Miria's overprotection, its potential locked away alongside the last dragon. However, if Ryu refuses Miria's offer, the final battle erupts. A desperate clash against the goddess as her station begins collapsing around them. Victorious but battered, the group flees the disintegrating fortress, with Gar choosing to remain behind, finally finding redemption in the ruins of his past sins. In the station's dying moments, Deus, now unveiled as Miria's sister, comforts the fallen goddess as the structure crumbles. "It's time," she whispers. "We must trust the world to their care now." As the dust settles, Ryu and his companions emerge from the wreckage into the desert sunlight, their long journey home marking the dawn of a new era, one where humanity charts its own future. This becomes the true ending, not just a victory, but a passing of the torch. Thank you for listening, dear viewer. Please subscribe, follow, and comment, as well as check out my other videos on the channel. Farewell and goodbye.